Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Yeah, that'd be me. How you guys doing? Somehow we stumbled through yet another week. We're still here, I think. But, you know, everything's up in the air. The madman has been tweeting since early this morning. He's telling the Puerto Rican people this morning about how much he loves them. Just a few odds and ends, okay? Because I know the president is sabotaging Obamacare. I know millions of the least of us are in real jeopardy of losing perhaps the only health insurance they've ever had. I know about his refusal to recertify the Iran nuclear accord. I think yesterday I sort of said it, right? We're fucked. That's it. I mean, it just comes down to that. Saw a tweet. This summed it up for me, too. Welcome to Trump's America, where Nazis roam the streets in packs and minorities are oppressed from using their First Amendment right to freedom of speech, and the poor are kicked off insurance rolls. Trump's America. It is a lovely place. It's a place where a congressman who represents perhaps some of you, and I'm sorry for you if he does, Keith Rothfuss. Can somebody introduce Keith Rothfuss to like a hot babe? You know, I'm just thinking maybe we could get him to go down like Murphy. But then. So Keith Rothfuss voted against giving a dime to Puerto Rico. 69 of the most heartless of the heartless, that would be Republicans, 69 of them voted, nah, not giving them anything. Keith Rothfuss was one because I went down the list trying to sear into my memory the names of the worst of the worst. So, great, you just keep, if those are your values, who are the people who vote for these people? They are our neighbors. I recall it was about a year ago. I was out in Mr. Rothfuss's territory. I rarely venture out. It's like, you know how there's suburbanites who are fearful of coming into the city? You know that? Or they do come and they're like looking around and clutching their purses and terrified of perhaps going into East Liberty or Homewood or the Hill or anything. I mean, they're friggin' scared out of their minds. You know what's funny? That's sort of how I am when I go into their territory. It's not that I'm scared as much as I'm so uncomfortable that I can't stand it. Friends and I were shopping for a sink. And we somehow schlepped out to a place out near Wexford or even past Wexford. I don't know where I am when I'm out there. And we're driving by mall after mall, fast food restaurant. I think we passed 2 McDonald's in a 4-block stretch. So there's a McDonald's there, and then 3 blocks later, there's another McDonald's. Every fast food joint you could want, and we ended up actually stopping and going into one of these slightly up from fast food, the chain restaurant. Can't remember which one it was. And we were seated, and I looked around, and that's when I got freaked. It was like I was sitting there was not one human being in there, and the place was packed, that was not white. And when I'm in a place like that, I get freaked. I get really, really uncomfortable. I noted it to my companions, who also said, yeah, man, this is weird. This is really weird. So I'm just saying, it goes both ways. I don't get where you live, and you don't get where I do, and okay, fine and dandy. We have a call. Hello, caller. Hi. Hi. Can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't even hear you even attempting to be heard. No, what I'm hearing, Steve, just get that buzz off and bring it down, and I'm hearing myself coming back at me. Sorry. We'll see if we can get that right. But there's a serious hum in my ear, which was not there. Thank you. Okay, a few odds and ends. Did you see the picture on the front page of the Post-Gazette, for those of you who don't see our paper? It's a picture of two first responders, heroes. I mean it. I mean, here are two guys from, where are they from? The Pittsburgh's Emergency Medical Service. So these are EMTs. One of them is, they're in an inflatable boat of some sort. And one of them is got the paddle and is like furiously paddling to shore. The other one has, by the horns, I think, a 6-point buck who found himself somehow in the Highland Park Reservoir. And there's a terrified deer out there pedaling around. I cannot get out by himself. And these two guys responded, grabbed the deer, and brought him to shore and let him go. And off he ran into Highland Park. And it occurred to me while I was looking at this picture, this deer must be thinking, I don't get these guys. I don't get these humans. What the hell? So they come out and rescue me from drowning, let me go, so I run into the woods, where then some other human will shoot me. I just don't get these people. I don't either. Do we have a caller now, we think? Let's do it. Hello, caller. Caller. Hello?
Hello, Lynn?
Yes.
Hello?
Hi.
Yes. Hi. I have two subjects I want to cover quickly today. The first one is, I'm not an organ donor, and until there is a litmus test where I can determine what type of person gets my organs, I won't be one. And what I mean by that is, do you think I want a person like Tim Murphy or Donald Trump or Kellyanne Conway or anybody like that to get my organs and have their lives prolonged? I don't think so.
I'm not saying a word. You go ahead.
Okay, the second thing is, I don't understand what the big fuss is about Harvey Weinstein, okay? In other words, the American people have determined that you can sexually assault women and you can admit it on film and you can become president of the United States.
Right.
But
so
you can't be a movie mogul.
Yeah,
So-
it's odd. It's a weird disconnect. I agree.
Yes, it's a sick society. Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, I never thought about that about the organs before, but I mean, it is true in some ways. It takes some doing to say it out loud, but I mean, like, oh man, I mean, if you're dead, what difference does it make? But yeah, let's say on your way out, you end up saving Adolf Hitler. Yeah, I mean, really. Like, maybe there could be a stipulation. Yes, I'm an organ donor, but I refuse to, have any of my organs implanted in and then have a list. We've come to that. I don't know. I'll tell you, my brother tells a story, and I know, I think the people in question don't necessarily want to be identified in any way. And my memory might be a little shaky, and I might have, in fact, shared this with my audience. It'd have to be at least 10 years ago. But it is a story so horrific. It's a story of a young girl, a child, who was the child of friends of my brother's and his wife. And she had always struggled with some kind of a horrible disease. I can't remember what, but at one point, she's rushed to the hospital, and she's declared dead. And they do what they do when you're declared dead. They tagged her and stuck her in a bag, and because she was a donor, she was put in a sort of cool, refrigerated place where awaiting the surgery to harvest her organs. I believe it was her father who went in to say goodbye one last time. And yeah, I can't remember what it was he detected, but he saw life. And again, not knowing the details, because obviously this is a hell of a story, she was alive. She was brought back. She left that hospital. And if her dad hadn't, I can't even imagine. So when I think about organ donation, the only thing after having heard that story that now scares the bejeebers out of me is, please, is there a way to really make sure? Now, you can't, it's brain death that they go back. But this girl was not dead. And I'm sure that's not the only case of that happening. Okay, another thing I think, since people are getting things off their chest which normally are not said in company, what dark thoughts do you have? I ain't giving my organs to a Republican. Okay, here's the other one. The happy couple and their 3 little kids born in captivity who were rescued by the Pakistanis and U.S. intelligence and God knows what. These are the people who, the woman was pregnant when the couple was captured by the, who knows who, some Muslims. And so she had her baby in captivity, and then she had 2 more. So they're in captivity for years, and they're having babies. So the family in captivity grew to 5. And then they get rescued. And then the husbands won't get on the plane that's supposed to take him back to the U.S. I'm getting on that plane. And I'm thinking, you know what? First of all, let me say this. They were captured because these 2, a pregnant woman and her husband, decided it was a grand idea to go backpacking, fine, in Afghanistan. Okay? Now, I just want to say this. Any couple, pregnant or otherwise, who thinks it's a great idea to go backpacking in Afghanistan in 2012 is out of their cotton-picking minds, putting themselves in obvious, serious danger, and potentially creating an international incident in which the entire United States government, the State Department, congressional people, everybody else, media, will be hauled into their stupidity. Then they get rescued, and he says, no, I can't get on that plane. And you know why he can't get on the plane? This is mind-blowing. This guy was married before. He knows how to pick them. He's a gem. He was married before to the sister of a guy we had stuck down in Guantanamo. That's why he was afraid. He thought somehow that relationship would make the U.S. I can't imagine why. Actually, he's thinking clearly there. That connecting those dots, the U.S. would maybe arrest him. But they're the ones who saved him and his kids. God almighty. The wife's from around, sort of globally around here. She's from Pennsylvania. Southern central Pennsylvania. And I'm just saying, when these people, when the kid who ended up dead, who went to North Korea, when people do these things and then end up as hostages, I have to tell you, very little sympathy. We all make wrong choices. And sometimes wrong choices have huge consequences. And some have really huge consequences that end up dragging whole nation states in with your stupid choice. So, that's not as bad as the guy not giving his organs, is it? That I don't have sympathy for these people at all. In fact, I don't think we should bother the time, the energy trying to save them. I mean, you could argue because they had these 3 little kids, you save the kids. But the 2 adults, geez. As a matter of fact, save the kids from those 2 adults. It's just something I think. Remember the horror of Inauguration Day? Well, I remember one thing in particular that just made me think, what is with these people? It was the Secretary of the Interior who drew attention to himself by coming to the inauguration on horseback. Do you remember that? Or going to his first day of work. It was one or the other, the day after maybe, where he rode a horse to the Interior Department. I call that grandstanding. I call that hunger for attention. This is the guy named Ryan Zinke who is doing lots of damage all by himself. And turns out this guy is really a piece of work. But of course, we sort of were given an indication that was true when he rode the horse to work. We have a caller. Hello, caller. Caller, hello?
Hello?
Hi. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Oh, damn it.
Testing, 1, 2.
Oh, screw you. Can you hear me? Are you playing with me?
Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Clarence, I don't believe you.
I'll hang up and try calling back.
Okay. I thought he was just pulling my leg. What's going on, do you think? We'll fix it, damn it. Things have been working way too well around here, so this is, yeah. But there's also this delay when I say, for all of them, when I say hello. And I might, whatever. He's back? Okay, that was Clarence. Hello, Clarence. Hello, Clarence.
Hello?
Hello? Hello? Shit. All right.
Hello?
Gee, it's just like the old days. It's just like the fucking old days. And I mean fucking. Can we get Carlo in here and we'll ask somebody else to call and we'll see if we can work this out. Thank you very much. So anyway, back to the Interior Secretary. This is the guy who wants to shrink the national parks. This is the guy who also is under investigation now. One of the cabinet members who, it appears, has a love of private aircraft that he flies around on at taxpayer expense. Sometimes these things are not taxpayer expense. You know what they are? They're taking rides, like the Interior Secretary taking rides in the jets of the oil industry captains. Yeah, so, business gets done. Oh, you want to drill in Yosemite? Well, yeah, we could probably make that happen, and thank you. Really like these sandwiches you serve here. So there's that. And now it turns out, and perhaps you've heard this, that the minute this jerk walks into the Interior Department headquarters in Washington, a security guy has to immediately grab something, take the elevator to the 7th floor, climb then stairs up to the roof, and he has to hoist a special flag, Zinke's flag, up underneath the American flag so that everybody knows that he's arrived. And the minute he leaves, the same guy has to run back, get in the elevator, up, run up the stairs, and take the flag down. The flag can only fly when Zinke is in the building. Do we have a caller? Here goes nothing, guys. Hello, caller.
Hello, I was just calling to see if I could help you fix your phone problem.
Well, thank you. That sure worked. There was no problem there. Did we do anything? No, a little bit. Interesting. Well, thank you. That's awfully kind of you. As long as you're here, you have anything to say? No? Yeah. But thank you.
Well, I saw one thing you might not have heard about. A guy named, a representative from Indiana, in Indianapolis, wants journalists to now be licensed by the state police.
Okay. Un-effing believable. Okay, well, we know that's not going to happen, at least not for a year or two, until we're full-fledged fascists. But, yeah, that's smart. Do these guys have they ever had a civics lesson? Have they ever even seen the Constitution? Oh, dear. No, I missed that one, but thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for that piece of news, and thank you for helping us with the test. If Clarence is still listening, Clarence, I would like you to call back because you were the one we had trouble with. And let's see if we can get you on. Third time is a charm. I mean, I hope you're still listening or you haven't left in a snit. So anyway, this jerk Zinke rides his horse to work, then gets out, and people have to go flying around to get his friggin' personal flag to fly up the flagpole underneath. And when asked about this, here's what his office says. This is a major sign of transparency. I rolled that around in my brain for a little while and realized that I think what they were saying is that showing by the flag that the guy is in the building is transparency. He's not hiding. He's in the building. And they went on to say that he is restoring honor and tradition to the department when he's flying the flag in garrison. When he's in garrison. Save me from these people. Okay, maybe this is Clarence. Hello, Clarence.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Can you hear
Don't
me?
worry, I never get in a snit.
Thank you.
Yeah, I never get in a snit. It's
Well, I don't know what that
technology,
was.
not you.
Yeah, I thought you were kidding me. I just thought you were playing with me,
Oh.
saying, "Can you hear
Yeah,
me?"
I can actually.
So you really
I
could?
can actually see that happening. Yeah, I knew it was going to work this time because I could hear the show before you picked up. And the other two times I couldn't hear the show. Just the robotic voice said, the robotic voice said, you can listen to the show until your time comes or whatever.
Well, Carlo's not hearing this. Yeah. Okay, so he is saying that he couldn't hear the show the first two times he tried to call. And so you might have made a change where he said it. Okay, whatever. Don't ask me. Still, all in all, I mean, this system's been working pretty well. Thanks, Carlo.
Yeah.
So what's on your mind, Clarence?
Well, I was calling about way back when organ donations.
Ah!
And because I am an organ donor.
Yeah, me too.
And the balance that you have to do is, does Hitler get your organs or some little girl? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You have to decide, do you potentially, not save the life of, some little kid who needs some part of your body.
Just to
And
protect yourself from,
Yeah,
Yeah.
protect yourself from that.
from giving
That's the
it to
balance.
Hitler. Right, so,
Yeah, exactly.
You just do what you can do. You make the organ available and you hope.
Yeah, well, you'll be dead, so even hope is
Hope
is gone.
Yeah, I mean, I've been an organ donor forever, but, frankly, at the rate I'm, going, I don't think anyone's going to want any of them.
But, my thing is, even if they go towards science, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they study,
Sure.
So what happens to a heavy smoker, skinny black guy?
You idiot.
kind of thing.
So you're still smoking. You still smoking.
Not as much. I cut down a lot, but, whatever. But there was it was funny because somebody said, "What is wrong with you?" I said, "Well, I haven't smoked in like 5 hours because I get like a pumped up little kid."
Yeah,
my
you get
focus
jumpy.
is gone, and
Yeah.
and I can't resist making bad puns. It's really funny. That little thing that turns off the craziness is it's on full power.
Wow.
And that whole the thing where you said there's at some point, like with the two people, did they make these stupid decisions?
Yeah.
What do you do? I'm like that with people like mountain climbers,
Yeah.
those risk takers.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you went up there, now you're stuck. Now we have to send a bunch of people to risk their lives to get you out of that.
That's right. I just
Should've did it
really
in the
have
first place.
I have no sympathy for people like that, and they really should be charged the full fare of whatever, the helicopters, the responders, everybody who has to come to their aid. Especially, I mean, if in fact they're where they're not supposed to be, which is often the case.
Yeah, they're like thrill seekers.
Yeah.
They did it for the thrill or because it was there.
Right.
And all this kind of good stuff.
Right.
You took the risk. Now why should, other people risk their lives saving you?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's not like it was a natural disaster or something.
Exactly.
Or you were a deer who fell into some water. It wasn't.
And now since they go equipped with satellite phones and stuff, so that thinking. So I'm going to do this thing, and then if I get stuck, I still have this lifeline. And, people like that, first of all, if they can afford satellite phones and all this other crapola, pay the money back. Pay it back.
Yeah, you got to pay the money back. Or, it's part of your, the deal you make that the people, I don't know. I don't think you can just go walking up a mountain. Don't you have to, get licenses and permits and all that kind of good stuff?
I don't think so. You do? To take a walk? It's essentially taking a walk.
Mount Everest, those massive mountains, I don't think you can just start climbing. I don't think you can just go climbing it.
Well,
I think you have,
you probably have a permit. Right.
Yeah.
But not like to go up any regular, ordinary old mountain, I don't think.
Oh, yeah, definitely not. Yeah, I don't think so. I go up Mount Washington all the time, and,
Well, here, for instance, is a case of New Hampshire, the state of New Hampshire, did charge people for getting themselves screwed up. And they were sent a bill for $25,734.65 for the cost of rescuing him.
Did he have to pay it, or did he?
Yes.
Oh, good.
New Hampshire's one of 8 states with laws allowing billing for rescue costs, but only New Hampshire has made frequent attempts to do so, even strengthening its law to allow the suspension of hiking, fishing, and driver's licenses for those who don't pay. So this was a kid who was stranded on a snow-covered mountain. He was an Eagle Scout. He put his survival skills to work. He slept in a crevice of a boulder, and he jump-started evergreen fires with a hand sanitizer gel. So he was a survivalist. He knew what to do. He put plastic. He did all the right stuff. And after 3 cold days, rescue crews did spot him and got him. And he was initially praised for his resourcefulness. And he was so grateful that he sent a $1,000 check to the state. He was 17 years old. I bet his parents did. Sent $1,000 to the state, and the state reciprocated by sending him a bill for $25,000. Wow.
Well, at least we know that in the future, girls can be Eagle Scouts.
Yes.
We'll be able to get trapped on mountains and bill $25,000.
That's right, too.
Opportunities.
I think the Boy Scouts, to me, I'm sorry. I refuse to let my son join them. Not that he asked to. He not the type, but I remember saying to him, there's no way you're belonging to that organization because their ethics are not our ethics, their values not our values. Because this was, when they were not letting any gay kids in, and they were just, I've hated them for a long, long time.
But now they are letting in gay kids, and now they're talking about letting in girls, and they're evolving.
Oh,
like
yes.
That thing where
they're evolving. Well, what I said.
And at some point.
Go ahead.
What's that?
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
The discussion that I'm having on Facebook about it is that my prediction is that there's not going to be a Girl Scouts or a Boy Scouts, just the Scouts at some point in the future.
I suppose.
Because yeah.
The problem is
high school football is going to be like flag football.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The problem is though that the Girl Scouts have been a pretty well managed organization, and free of scandal. I think. Maybe there are a few things. A few things with the cookies, but few things with the old cookies. But
yeah, well, maybe the Girl Scouts should let boys in.
Yeah, exactly. But the Boy Scouts, because they've been badly managed, are now just going to try to take the Girl Scouts down to save themselves. They're despicable. But you're right. Eventually, they'll just, I guess, be Scouts. I was a brownie for I don't know. I was a two.
I was one since birth.
What? Oh, you were a brownie since birth?
Since birth.
Okay. Ha ha.
It's a good joke.
But you didn't have a little beanie. I had a little brown beanie. And my mom was the whatever it was, the leader. And she, I guess, not to show any favoritism, treated me like dirt. I mean, I so hated it that I couldn't get out of there fast enough. And my brother's memories of Cub Scouts is of his den mother, I forget her name, for the thing they did on one day. She got all the little Cub Scouts to shovel her driveway. That's what they did.
See, I was we'll call it ghetto Cub Scouts.
Okay.
We were official, but nobody could afford a uniform. You know what I mean? We didn't have the uniforms or the handkerchiefs or the hat, just nothing. We just kind of We got the books. We got to read the books. We had to do certain things to get our little badges and stuff, but we never had any uniforms. But we did things like, I think this is like the late 60s, early 70s when give a hoot, don't pollute was bad. We cleaned up the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Things like that. We had little meetings. We taught how to cook certain things and, light fires and all that nonsense. But but I was a Cub Scout, sort of. I didn't have any other, I never went through like, the Cub Scout jamborees and all that kind of good stuff.
Do you remember the
little books?
You remember the pledge?
No.
On my honor. Wait a minute. Is this the Boy Scout or Cub Scout one? On my honor, I will try to do my duty to God and country. So something else. And I always love the last line. And to obey the law of the pack.
I think even at the age of 7, I wouldn't have said that.
Yeah, well, and to obey the law of the pack. It's like, and I will always be part of the mob. I mean, what do you mean?
Ironically, I obey the law of the pack now. It just happens to be a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah, right. You're addicted. Can we find the Cub Scout oath or Boy Scout oath? Because why I know that, I don't know, but I was probably helping my brother to memorize it or something. And the Girl Scout one I can't think of. But yeah, to obey the law of the pack.
I can remember in elementary school we were, pledging allegiance to the flag.
Yeah.
I shut my mouth and said, under God. I didn't say the words.
Yeah.
I was in elementary school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we do what we do, right? Hey, I'm glad you got through. Third time was a charm.
Yeah, so am I.
Thanks,
Right.
Clarence.
Thanks. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Brooke writes, Earl, you mentioned Trump's America. I remember well the Republican speeches leading up to Inauguration Day. They would say things like, now is the time to choose the type of America you want to live in. Well, now we know what kind of America they were talking about. The kind of America where we ignore the needs of absolutely decimated Puerto Rico, where the president and white team owners tell black players to stand when they say stand. It's quite an America. I knew I didn't want to be in their America. I knew it. Law of the Pack was retired. When did that happen? So a few people must have gotten creeped out by it, because God knows I was. But I'm telling you, in the 50s, it was definitely in there. So in the 70s, it got knocked off. But here it is. Here's the Cub Scout promise. I promise to do my best, to do my duty to God and my country. I did remember it. This is the part I forgot. To help other people and to obey the law of the pack. That's weird. I don't remember any Girl Scout one. Oh, I don't know. Who cares? The only, it's weird because Clarence said they had everything. They had the books, but they didn't have the uniforms. The whole idea for me was wanting to get a uniform. I mean, it was I thought they were ugly as hell. Who came up with that hideous brown? Bleh. But still, I thought that was cool because as a kid, you'd never had a uniform. I didn't. So that was my first one. Okay. This from Michael Gerson in today's Washington Post. The time for panic is upon us. I always like it when people just cut to the chase, okay? The time for panic is upon us. The thin line of sane, responsible advisors at this White House could break at any moment. The American government now has a dangerous fragility at its very center. Its welfare is as thin as an eggshell, perhaps as thin as Donald Trump's skin. I mentioned my metaphor that is in my head, speaking of eggshells, is that our country is Humpty Dumpty, and we have fallen. And I don't think there's any putting it back together again. So here's Michael Gerson with eggshells in his mind, too. And then he quotes G.K. Chesterton, who I know is an English guy, and I'm thinking he was in the 1800s, but I could be wrong. And I know Stephen's going to find out for me. He quotes G.K. Chesterton, and it is so on point. So, doesn't matter when you were living, what we have in common here is human nature and how humans behave, whether with courage and honor or with cowardice. And so whenever he wrote this, it sure wasn't now, but he said this about bravery. He said, brave men are all vertebrates. They have their softness on the surface and their toughness in the middle, right? There's the soft shell of skin and muscle, and there's the strength, internal strength. There's a backbone. Brave men are all vertebrates. They have their softness on the surface and their toughness in the middle. But modern cowards, and I don't know when he wrote it, so I don't know what particular event he was talking about, but tell me if this doesn't apply to the Republicans now. But these cowards are not vertebrates. They are crustaceans. Their hardness is all on the surface, on the cover, and their softness is inside. There's nothing in there. There's no backbone. It's all in the crust they present. So I found that a pretty good metaphor. There are, at this point, no apparent vertebrates in the Republican Congress. And if you tell me Bob Corker's one, I'll argue that with you. There are none. And for him to go down as a brave man is really, give me a break. It's something. All right, so Chesterton, I'm just trying to get when he lived. He made it into the 20th century. 1874 to 1936. G.K. Chesterton. Time magazine said he is a theologian, a poet, a philosopher, a dramatist, a writer, a biographer, a literary artist. He was just, one of those guys. He had a hungry head. Well known for his fictional priest detective Father Brown. You guys into detectives, then maybe you know him. All right, well, I didn't. I just knew the name. I really don't want to talk about what Trump's doing with Obamacare. I just don't. But it's just amazing, the cynicism of it. the lies and then the cynicism of cutting its legs out from under it and then saying, look, it can't walk. Hobbling it. Starving it. And then saying, hey, look, it doesn't work. Really something. These are evil people. They are evil because the impact on people's lives of what these guys are doing, I don't think can come under any other heading. It's not evil to take access to health care away from people, from children, from old people, from the poor. The stuff that he has done, Jesus, what did you just do? It's night and day. It's night and day. The buzz went away. So whatever you just did, you remember that. Wow. The buzz is gone. The buzz is gone. Okay, so, oh, you're telling me, too, that he was real anti-Hitler. Chesterton. So I'm sorry. I'm weary. I'm weary, and who wouldn't be? I did find some good news, though. I did. It turns out that all of this drip, 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 all of this drip, 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 the daily shitstorm, we could be spared it sooner than than even the more hopeful ones of you out there, don't count me in that crowd, could have dreamed. Because wouldn't it be? Science is going to come to our rescue. Scientists working in Yellowstone National Park, home of Old Faithful, home of a lot of amazing, glorious natural wonders. You might not know it, but Yellowstone was largely created by a huge eruption. And it wasn't that long ago in geological time. It's 630,000 years ago. Geological time, that is a wink. So 630,000 years ago, there was a hell of an eruption. And Old Faithful was born, as was pretty much all of Yellowstone. It created a huge bowl 40 miles wide that forms much of the park. But what Old Faithful tells you is stuff's going on down there. There is molten lava. There is magma that is heated up to an extraordinary, and it is under there, and it is bubbling, and it is alive. All of that, Old Faithful, the Grand Prismatic Spring, if you've ever seen that. I never have. Look at this picture of it. That's water. Look at the picture. Look at the colors. So this is a remarkable place. And all of this is evidence of a lot of crap going on under the surface, right? In 2011, 6 years ago, a group of scientists found that the ground above the huge reservoir of magma, this molten stuff that, ends up spewing out at some point. They found that it had bulged by 10 inches in just 7 years. That ain't normal. So this bulge in 7 years, and one of the scientists said, that is extraordinary uplift because it covers such a huge area. So the bulge they're talking about is not a little bulge, it's like whoosh, huge. Some other scientists went there recently and started studying let me get this right, because, when it comes to this stuff, it's not like I know what's going on. They started analyzing the ash, the fossilized ash from that mega eruption 630,000 years ago. And they found stuff, changes in temperature, changes in composition, that they figured would have taken centuries, thousands of years to do. And they'd only taken a few decades. Something they thought would take 500 years took 20 years. So they said, something's going on down there. And in fact, our timeline of when this thing could blow again might be way off. So at a recent conference of volcanologists, those would be people who study volcanoes, they put this out there. And what they think is Yellowstone might be ready for another mega explosion. There's no way of actually, there's little rumblings, but they're finding stuff there that is like, whoa, wait. And listen to this. Here's why I said this might be a godsend, and we don't have to do the drip, drip, drip of the bad news every single goddamn day. It says right here that they've determined that if this baby blows, it will spew into the atmosphere 2,500 times more ash and material than Mount St. Helens managed in 1980. 2,500 times stronger than Mount St. Helens, and they say with that amount, 1,000 cubic kilometers of rock and ash, that could in fact blanket almost the entire country. The entire country would be in ash. And if a landmass that big, and then all the ash in the air, which because of the winds circulates around the globe, blotting out the sun, it could, in fact, when it blows, pretty much destroy life on Earth, because there would be nothing more than a volcanic winter. You wouldn't have plants growing because the sun wouldn't get through the crap. So I looked at this and thought, oh, wow. Instead of the drip, 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 we could just all... And while we're looking this way, waiting for Kim Jong-un to lob one of his measly little things, Mother Nature, as she's been doing of late, right? Mother Nature can say, hey, you stupid little ants, you nothings that think you're so mighty, that think you've unleashed the power of nature. I'll show you the power of nature. I'm just saying. So get ready. You have your hurricanes here. You got your wildfires there. You got your old faithful doing something that she hasn't done in 630,000 years, which is just friggin' blow the whole thing up. Just saying. Caller, hi.
Lynn, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
It's Ray from Lawrenceville. How are you, Lynn?
I'm fine, Ray. How you doing?
I'm well. I know you're at the end of the show, but I wanted to give you a heads up if you hadn't already announced it. But that Connor Lamb, the young fellow that you had
Yes.
into,
Yeah.
he's launching his candidacy for the Murphy seats tomorrow at 2 at the Poor House in Carnegie.
The Poor House? What is that?
Yeah, it's the Irish bar in.
Oh,
Carnegie.
okay. It's an Irish bar. Okay,
Yeah.
The Poor House. So he's jumping in, huh?
He is. I'm friends with the family, and I ran into him about a week ago and told him that you had been impressed with him, and he let me know. Charming young man. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah, he really is, and he's officially throwing his hat in. So I'm going to let you know, and I need the listeners know.
Well, thank
that,
you.
There is hope on the horizon, possibly.
Well, let's hope. That is a hell of a candidate. You would be well advised to have that in the Congress of the United States, that young man, rather than any
Absolutely.
monster that the Republicans put up.
That's right. An ex-Marine, prosecutor,
He's got it all.
person.
Yeah, he's just got
got
it all. And he's smart, and he's, I think even honorable, if one can imagine such a thing.
Yes.
Hey, thank you.
Lovely to talk to you, and I'll let you go.
Thank you. Bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Well, that was good. That was good news. But we understand that the DNC doesn't think anybody, even a great candidate like that, they don't know if they're going to give him any help because, it's such a Republican area and, we don't fight. Oh, dear. I see Feinstein. Can't help it. I don't remember which one it is. Feinstein? You think it's Feinstein. Steinstein. Harvey Weinstein? Yes. But Weinstein, you see, this is the thing, and I just want to share this with you because I got an email from somebody, and it made me a wreck. But because I take your criticisms to heart, and he said this. I believe you have a good point about Senator Feinstein turning her position over to someone younger. But the back and forth with your sister was a bit distressing. Do you have something seriously against Mrs. Feinstein? You kept pronouncing her name Feinstein with a long E. But most people, including your cute little sister, Suze, pronounce it Feinstein with a long I, which happens to rhyme with Einstein, one of the smartest scientists that ever lived. Your persistence with this, all the while your very cute sister was pronouncing it probably correctly, seemed to be trying to make a point. No, I just want to say this, and I did say to him, I don't have anything against her, but I do have a problem with any name beginning in Stein, ending in Stein. Because some of them pronounce it Stein and some of them pronounce it Steen. And for the life of me, I can't keep any of it straight. So every time I see one of those names, I always say Feinstein, Steen. I don't know. I got Steins in my own family. It's a Jewish thing. But some say, and I think everybody's saying Harvey Weinstein. Oh, don't get on me about that. I just don't know. Stein. No disrespect intended. Where was I? I interrupted myself. That's what happens. So, I'm being told to tell you this. Oh, wait, hang on. I thought it was to be square and obey the laws of the pack. That, I think, that rings true. That rings true. To be square. That's how old that is. And obey the laws of the pack. I never heard that new version. And then he says voters in real America know that higher health care premiums and less coverage are actually good. My idea of a very short conversation would be Trump talking about health care and the Iran deal. And by the way, it's time to start saying Merry Christmas. Cheers from an active piano donor. Well, good for you. I had a friend that was involved in a charity for Cuba called Pianos to Havana, because they couldn't get any musical instruments when we were boycotting them. Okay, so here's what you need to know. You're invited this Thursday, coming up, to the Ace Hotel, 7 p.m. Be there or be square and obey the laws of the pack. This is the best of party. So all the best of things that won in our best of Pittsburgh, thingamajiggy-jiggy-jig, all the restaurants, they'll bring the food. And it costs a little money to get in, but man, there's tons of food, and there's tons of fun, and there's live performances, and there's complimentary beverages with your and you got to get your tickets well, I don't know, you can get them at the door, I'm sure, but if you want to get $10 off, you go to a site, cooltix.com, COOL-TIX, T-I-X, cooltix.com. And then when you see a promo code thingamajig, you put my name in the box, okay? Lynn Cullen. $10 right there, right back in your pocket. But come to the party, okay? It's next Thursday, 7 p.m., October 19th, Ace Hotel. Be there or be square, and always obey the laws of the pack.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.